guys, thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and let's recap and review Love After Lockup. This is season 5, episode 35. So let's get into Sometimes before we get into it, we get a little spicy, just a little bit. And I just got two things I want to talk to you today about. So both links to the articles that I'm going to be talking about will be in the description box below. Okay, so just check it out if you want to read it for yourself, because I'm just going to give the summary. So the first one is Julian and Christina. Girl, why did Julian and Christina, Julian got arrested, Christina got a citation. So this is coming from Starcasm, and they've noted, and the article is dated August the 9th, but pretty much Julian and Christina got caught stealing out of Walmart in Vienna, West Virginia. Julian ran, tried to outrun the police, ran all the way to the end of the parking lot, failed. And the police was like, turn over with your hands behind your back. I said, Julian, you too old. You 48 years old, sir, or 46 years old. Why would you do this to yourself? The embarrassment. So pretty much, they got caught stealing. In the article, it talks about them, Julian having the linen tote bags from Walmart and going to the back of the store and meeting up with Christina, and then Christina having her own tote bag, and then them having I feel like an old receipt, and then leaving the store and stuff like that, thinking that they got away, but the police was already watching them for stealing. So Julian got arrested. He stole $546.19 worth of stuff. So they arrested him. He had to bail himself out. I think the bond was $5,000, but he ended up having to be, let me see, where did it say what happened to him? He took a plea deal for shoplifting and fleeing. They asked him, did he know the lady that he was with? And he was like, what girl? So he wasn't going to rat on Christine, but he got fined $422.96. And then he was ordered to pay Walmart for civil penalties for $1,092.38. I said, sir, and all of this happened 11 days after Christine got released from Camp Cupcake. So we might see it on the show. And for Christine, all she got was a citation because she only stole $69 worth of stuff. So I guess they were it wasn't that big of a deal to get her. So they're saying that they think the stolen items that Julian and Christine were stealing was for her kids' birthdays. It says the arrest report reveals that the reason Julian and Christina were attempting to steal items from West Virginia. So it says, after speaking to Christine and Julian for some time, the arresting officers found that the couple is staying in Parkersburg to visit Christine's daughter for her birthday party. The arresting officer found that due to the cost of getting to Parkersburg and having to go back home to Maryland, the couple became low on money and wanted to steal things for the daughter. I mean, sometimes your presence is the gift, because going to jail, you were already low on money, but now you had to pay basically $1,400 back. You had to pay it in a fine, and you had to give Walmart $1,000 because you stole. Mess. Just mess. So the other one I want to talk about is Letitia. So this article was posted on the 16th of August. And basically they said Letitia got hit with a $31,000 tax lien, but she's supposed to be helping people with their taxes and finances. So the caption says, Love After Lockup, Letitia Collier may need to hire her own tax business because the 38-year-old financial advisor was hit with a $31,000 tax lien earlier this year. According to Iowa Department of Revenue, the notion of a notice of tax lien was filed on January. The notion reveals the tax lien is for $31,093.21. So they basically said that in 2022, it says she owes $19,000. And then in 2021, she owed $11,000. Girl. It says the tax lien is just the last thing in the long, long list of financial issues Letitia, her boss, and tax accounting service business. In the past couple of years, Letitia was personally been evicted multiple times. Her business has, see, that makes sense why the businesses never look like she be in them. It says her businesses have also been evicted multiple times from multiple locations during the same time span. Box Tax and Accounting Services filed for bankruptcy last year as well. Twice, Letitia admitted her business and incurred a large debt over the past year. The bankruptcy judge eventually threw out the Boss Tax bankruptcy filing and forwarded Letitia's information to prosecutors for potential investigation and bankruptcy fraud. Letitia is also facing multiple civil lawsuits. Oh, and there's that small matter of the pending felony theft charge against Letitia for allegedly taking money from a client and keeping the funds instead of paying the client's taxes. Girl. Miss. She need to be worrying about her own life and her own criminal investigations instead of Lakeith, however you say that man's name. But let's get into this about Hope and Arthur. Honestly, y'all, Arthur is actually very attractive. But then when you see the tattoos, it just takes away from it. Because him just sitting there with the do-rag on, and I didn't see that big triangle on his forehead, I was like, oh, you are very, like I already told y'all, the old pictures of him, he was handsome. And even with him sitting here with his mom, I was like, oh, you are actually like really attractive, sir. Why did you do that to your face? Why? Why? You had a beautiful face. You know, all the other like, I really feel like people should not touch their faces with tattoos. I mean, you know, tattoos from the neck down, do that. But your face, don't do that to your face. Because I was like, you're actually like very handsome. Like very handsome. But we see that he's out with his mom. They're at like some ice cream, like peanut place. Because I thought she was getting butter pecan ice cream. But then when she sat down, she had the, you know how they put the little honey roasted pecans like in the little cone thing. That's what she was eating. So while they're sitting down, they're just talking. Like Arthur really is like starting to realize how much time he missed being locked up for so long. Cause I think it was like almost like 7 or 8 years or something like that. And he's like realizing like, dang, I missed so much. Like he was like, his little sister is going to prom. And then he's like looking at his mom and like how old she looks now to him. He was like, dang, like I really missed a lot. The mom ends up like apologizing to him, being like, you know, sometimes I just question myself, like, did I work too much? What if I would have spent more time with you? Maybe you would not have went down the path that you went down. But then he tells her, don't blame yourself. Like, I made these decisions. You had to do what you had to do. And we find out that the mom was a like nurse's assistant. So she was working grueling hours. Because even if she's not like a registered nurse, being an assistant to a nurse and they do like those like 16-hour shifts or 12-hour shifts, she got to be there to assist. So, you know, she wasn't able to be there for him all the time. And mind you, if she's a single mom, she still has to make sure she makes enough money for her and like her kids. So then he goes on to say, like, you know, and he gets emotional. He starts crying and everything, where he just was like, I remember the day I got locked up. You told me to do the laundry and I was just like bumped at, and I went and helped my friend. And he was like, at that time, loyalty meant everything to me. And he explains to this story about how his friend, I guess, owed some people some money and he ain't had the money and they was about to do some bad things to his friend, maybe like, you know, wipe him off the map, you know, send him up to glory. And Arthur decided, you know, I'm going to help my friend. Because I think he actually went to jail because of robbery, first-degree robbery. So he was like crying, being like, if I would have just listened to you and like did the laundry and not helped my friend, I wouldn't have been in jail. And he just talks about how like I thought about that like every single day I was locked up in there. And that's a lot. That's a lot. And one thing I've learned is like you shoulda, could, would statements don't really help you, because if you would have known that your actions was going to get you locked up again, or maybe this time you were going to get caught or you were going to be spending more time, you wouldn't have did what you did, but you did it anyway. So the only thing you can do is keep moving forward, because life, you clearly see, is going to move forward without you. But I was just like, dang, when he started crying, I was like, that is a bitter pill to swallow. And, you know, owning the fact that like you put yourself in that situation has to suck. And then the mom was just looking at him and then he was crying in the confessional. And I was just like, Why you mess up your face? Because you're an attractive man. I just want to give you a hug, sir. So the mom is basically being like, I just want you to come back to Vegas with me. Because she really feels like him staying out here with staying out in Dallas is going to get him in trouble and possibly locked back up being around Hope. And maybe she was right, because the streets are saying he locked back up because of a situation between him and Hope. But I was just like, man. And then we have this situation. Well, we'll continue with them. So then he finally goes home. He goes back home to Hope's house. Hope in her feelings, because she's like, why are you coming back in my house at basically 1:00 in the morning? Because I think the screen said 12:40 or 12:41. And she was like, that's not cool. And honestly, at first I was like, girl, you doing too much. And I still think she's doing too much, but I also understand, it would have been nothing for Arthur just to text her and be like, hey, me and my mom are having a really good time. The conversation is going very well. I'm going to be out longer. And I think that's the part that's trippy to me, because a lot of the issues with these couples is communication. And you would think that y'all be talking on the phone for years, 3 or 4 or 5+ years, and then y'all get the person gets out, and next thing you know, y'all are having these frivolous arguments. Because I'm looking at him all you had to do is shoot her a text and be like, hey, I'm staying out longer with my mom. But then I'm looking at Hope girl, he's with his mom. And even if you think he out here, slanging, at this point, you committed to him and you slanged on him. You know what I'm saying? So she gets mad, and Arthur tries to apologize to her. And she's Hope ends up saying I've made a lot of sacrifices, and I'm not saying he has to choose me over his mom, but meet me where I'm at. And I'm like, girl, you want him to choose you over his mom. And he ends up doing that. And the streets are saying you got him locked back up. So maybe the mama was right about you, Hope. Maybe the mama was right about you. But then again, I'm just kind of if he would have went with his mom, would he would he still have gotten locked back up? You just never know. But maybe he should have just went home first and then maybe came back out there to see Hope. Let's talk about Letitia and Keith. So if you watched last week's episode, basically Letitia got some letter on her door that was from the sheriff's office. She called the number, and the person on the phone basically told her Keith was not eligible for this early release that she'd been telling everybody. And so we find out that they had a paralegal filing documents for them. They paid him $1,000, and the lady on the phone was basically saying, ma'am, I can't give you legal advice. You might want to contact your attorney. So she was calling Ben, which is who is the paralegal, just calling and calling and calling, but Ben wasn't picking up. So Letitia says, you know what, girl, I'm about to pull up on him. So we actually see Letitia pull up on Ben on somebody else's office, or some rented room that they saying is an office. She's sitting down with him, and she's like, Ben, I'm stressed. What's going on? Because I just got told that he's not eligible for immediate release. What are you what's going on? And Ben is basically flipping through the paperwork, and he ends up being well, what I found, because, I combed his paperwork with a fine-tooth comb, that he was illegally arrested. So technically, or something about it being an illegal arrest or unlawful arrest, something, I don't know. Basically saying that he could get Keith's record expunged. But I was like, that doesn't address him not being eligible to be released. And then, we find out that the way that they got in contact with Ben was somebody in prison who I guess Ben helped out, referred Ben to Keith, and Keith told Letitia. So that's how they got in contact with Ben and paid him the $1,000. And what everyone was saying in the other people's reviews, comments, and even online, I saw, was that a paralegal is not an attorney. A paralegal can only file documents and motions for you, but they are not on the same level as an attorney. And I'm looking at Letitia you spent $15,000 on a wedding ring during lockup. Now we on love after lockup, and you don't have $15,000 for an actual attorney. And so I'm looking, I said, the math not mathing, girl. So then she talks about, Ben talks about how, paralegals are they're overworked, underpaid. They just see Keith as a number. So that's when Letitia tells Ben, well, his public defender just filed a motion not to be a part of the case. And Ben is going on how he's helped 48 to 50 people get out of prison. And I'm like, why are you giving me a range? I feel like I can't trust you, Mr. Ben. I feel like I can't trust it. So then Ben is just kind of I'm going to help you out. Now that the public pretender is gone, you got me. And Letitia was like, well, I paid you. I need you to do what we paid you for. And I'm like, you gave him $1,000. It's just the math not mathing, girl. It's not mathing, because it is crazy that you have $15,000 to buy a wedding ring, but you don't have $15,000 to pay for an attorney. And I'm not ragging on public defenders. I know like a decent amount of public defenders are probably out there who really are trying to help those who get roped up in the criminal system, who are being treated unjustly and unfairly. So I don't want to rag on them, but we also do know some of them, like he said, are overworked and overpaid, and they just trying to bite their time until they make it to retirement. But this to me is just not making sense, because again, you spent $15,000 on a wedding ring, but you don't got enough money to actually go get an attorney who's not overworked and underpaid. The math not mathing, Letitia. Just like them flyaways are irritating me. I don't understand what's the point of having a U-part wig, a V wig, or anything where your leave out is out to such degree and you not blended. Girl, I know you could get some jam, a wax stick, or maybe just make the leave out portion smaller, because every time we see her hair is throwing up gang signs. Flip like she trying to pledge Omega Psi Phi. I'm like, girl, why is it like this? I'm just irritated. I'm irritated, girl. The math with Letitia just is not mathing. It's not. So we then see her go meet up later on that day with one of her friends named Nikki. Her and Nikki were getting on my nerves with that, hey, friend, how you doing, friend? Friend, I'm struggling, friend. Girl, talk regular, because nobody says that. I don't do that. At least I know not in my friend group. But pretty much we find out that Letitia is stressed out. She's like, did I make the wrong mistake by telling everybody that he was getting out? Yes, you did, because you didn't know for sure. She was like, I told his family, I told my kids. We saw the little girl crying like, my daddy's getting out. I want him to come home. The oldest daughter, I bet you, is happy he not at that house, because she not really enthusiastic about that man being nowhere near her. And so she's just like, I wouldn't have told my parents. I just wouldn't have told everyone that he was getting out. And now I'm just like, is this a sign from God telling me I need to slow down? I need to stop? I just don't understand. And her friend was like, you'll get back up. And then she starts talking about how she doesn't have as much money as she used to have, where she's like, I'm paying on Keith's books. I'm paying to do this. I'm paying to do that. And, I got to pay my employees. And then when there's the money that's left over, it's just for me to pay myself. And I'm like, that's your fault. Because didn't nobody tell you to marry a convict? Didn't nobody tell you to get your life mixed up, intermingled with somebody that's in prison? And what's crazy was I was talking to my sister about this show, and she was like, girl, they got to pay to call, or you get billed. And I was like, I forgot that that's what happens. Isn't it a collect call or something like that? So it's you paying to call people, you paying to go visit and all this stuff. It's a lot. And you can honestly tell that she's struggling, because in the confessional, the producers asked her, well, how was your business going? And she cut them off saying, I don't want to talk about that. And you could tell it's she's getting emotional. She was like, I need to drink on that. I don't want to talk about that. She deads that conversation real quick. So she definitely struggling. Joey and Kim. So it's Christmas Day. The boys are in bed with them. Mind you, I think Joey said that one of them got into bed with them last night, and they were in the bed in the morning. The little one, the blonde hair one, he do too much. He was I don't know if he was mad that they woke him up or didn't wake him up and that everyone was in the bed. I don't know, but he smacked Kim in the face. He was really upset. And I was like, you need to get a hold of that, ma'am. So it's Christmas. They have a bunch of toys for them kids. That house was filled. For Kim to be on the teacher's assistant salary, she really spent a lot of money. And it looked like they had a lot of toys. So Joey, you can tell, is overwhelmed. Even in the confessional, Joey, I see it in your eyes. But even in the confessional, he was just like, this is a lot. This is a lot. So Kim is like, close your eyes. And he's like, oh, okay. And they lead him outside. She bought him a brand new car. And it's basically the same exact car that she drives. And I said, so you were just complaining about how last episode, you know, you don't have a lot of money because he spent $300 on toys, to now we're spending money on buying a used car for this man who's a recovering drug addict who hasn't proven himself to you. Yeah, you just like to make stupid decisions, Kim. You just like to make stupid decisions, Kim. So he is like shook. But we find out that Kim put a air tag in his car. And my thing about it is if you got to do all of that, why are you with that person? If I can't trust you, I don't need to be with you. We don't need to have a relationship. We don't need to be like friends. We don't need to be boyfriend and girlfriend. Like at any relationship with anybody, there's supposed to be like some type of level of trust. And the fact that she is doing all of this and he hasn't faltered yet for you, girl, you already didn't trust him off bat. So why be with him? So while it's Christmas morning, Joey is just texting, and she keeps asking like who you on the phone with, and he's like nobody. Now I agree with her with that, where don't tell me it's nobody. If I asked you, just be direct with me so we can move on. But pretty much Kim ends up saying like her last husband was like it was nobody on the phone, but it was definitely somebody. But then I also am like, well, he been locked up for like 6 years. He probably getting text messages from friends, maybe not the good kind of friends, because he probably might have all addict friends. But it just seems like, you know, people want to get in contact with him, but I feel like he should have just been honest about it. But you can also tell that he's like overwhelmed with all the yelling and screaming from the kids. And maybe just the simple fact that like, okay, I'm finally out. I got out like the day before Christmas, and like, this is different. Cause he was like, this is better than waking up in prison in Christmas, cause it's depressing. So you see him go change, and Joey's like, I'll be right back. And she's like, where are you going? He's like, I'll be right back. Kisses her and gets in the car and takes off. And on one hand, I'm like, yeah, no, that car, that's why you don't get nobody no car. But on the other hand, I'm kind of thinking about like when I got like my bike for Christmas, all I wanted to do was be outside and like ride my bike. Or like that one time my parents decided, like, I don't know why I thought I could skateboard. All I wanted to do was go up and down my driveway on my skateboard when I was a kid. So I'm like, it's kind of the same thing. Like, you get a car for Christmas, you just gonna want to drive it because that's your toy. So I feel like it's that, but also he could have told her where he was going. And he then starts talking about his friend, where he like he never really grieved his friend. But you could also tell that Joey is overwhelmed with like Kim and them kids. Really, it's them kids. And I really feel like it's that little boy, the youngest one. Because all that screaming and crying, I'd have been over it. But he's just reminiscing about his friend. We found out that he had a friend. I can't remember the name of the friend, but back in like 2001, he died. The guy was also, I think, addicted, but like he was actually on the road where his friend passed away, where he was like street racing somebody. He was outside copping some Xanax, got in the car, was street racing, didn't turn on his headlights, and then ran straight into a light pole, and he was no longer here. And Joey was like, he don't think he ever really grieved that really. And like, it kind of led him, like, he was already down a dark path, but it kind of pushed him further. We also see him be like, oh, this is where the people go to like do drug deals and get their drugs and all that stuff. And we find out that he learned how to sell when he was like 15 years old by some person that was like, oh, go knock on this door and ask anybody if they straight. If they say this, give them this. If they say this, give them that. And he was like, for me, you know, selling and doing all that stuff was glorified. And I said, your mama don't look like she was glorifying all of that, okay? Your mama looked like a God-fearing white Christian woman. So who was telling you to do all of this stuff, Joey? Or was you glorifying it? You could tell that Joey wanted to live a certain type of life. But then I think about how I have some family members that live like in a small town, and I thank God ain't none of them on that stuff. But like they have said that like people get addicted because they get bored. Like, you don't really have nothing to do. You don't really have the best education. And that stuff is just available to you. And it's just how you bite your time, pretty much. So we find out that Kim really don't know where Joey is. Because as the episode continues, we see her tracking him. Like, she's not even worried about her kids or playing with her kids on Christmas Day. She's just, like, looking at where Joey is driving to. And at first, I thought he was going to go to the cemetery to, like, see his friend because he was driving past a cemetery. But we just don't know where he's going. going. Kim's like, she don't know what happened. She don't know if she triggered him, but she just didn't expect this from Joey. Like, him just leaving her with the kids. Like, that's happened before, but she just didn't expect him to be the one to do that to her. So now she just contemplating things, and she's like, I don't know if Joey gonna go back to that life, but if he does, I'm gonna have to deal with it. Yeah, because you decided to mingle your life with his, girl. What? Julian and Christine. So it's the night after that passionate love. And I hate how Love After Lockup producers are always asking, so how was it? I don't need to know. I don't want to know. Okay? They're talking about they went for 4 rounds. Okay. I still can't believe they did that in front of Mr. Chunky Bonkers. I just don't know how people be getting down in front of their animals. I just feel like that's disrespectful. I don't know. I just feel like it's weird. But he was in the room with them. Probably hiding underneath the bed. But she's in the bed asking him, like, does your family, like, know about me? Are you excited for them to meet me or something like that? And he's like, yeah, they know about Christine, but they don't know Christine. They don't know that Christine is like a recovering drug addict and she was in jail for robbery like that. So he's like, I'm just real private and I don't feel like they need to be up in my business like that. Christine feels like maybe Julian is ashamed of her or embarrassed, but he's like, no, I'm locked in with her. I just don't feel like my people needs to know. So he said he kind of feels bad for her because he's just kind of like, nobody's really excited about her being out on jail. Like, nobody other than me came to visit her or say, anything like that. It was like no welcome home thing. And he was like, I've spoken to her parents, but they still see her as a drug addict. Like, they haven't really seen her where she has actually grown. And I tried to explain that to them, but like the art, like we get into it and it gets pretty heated. And right now Julian is kind of like the line of communication for her and her family. So he's just like, yeah, it's just crazy. And I just wish she was in a better place. So they end up leaving the hotel room and he ends up paying for her to get her hair retouched up, like get her hair dyed. She was like, in prison, there's like this $5 box of hair dye. It really doesn't do nothing for your hair. She was like, people in prison, all girls will do their hair every morning. All I did was put this in a bun and keep it pushing. I probably would have been hurt because like, who I'm looking good for? I'm locked up. They're not going to let me out. So we see her get her hair done, and then they're sitting in the car, and they were supposed to go and visit her parents, so she could see her oldest son, who I think is at the time was like 14, or maybe he already was 15. And she is like panicking. Like, you can see in her body language, like Christina is like uncomfortable and like she's trying and like she's breathing really hard. Like, she's like trying her best, and she wanted to give like a present because I think this was like around the time of like, I thought it was Christmas, but after reading the Sarcasm article, maybe it was around his birthday. I'm not sure. But Julian ends up leaving the gift on the door, and they don't go in to see the parents because Christina is like, my mom triggers me. And she was like, I'm trying to calm down, but I feel like I want to go get something to calm my nerves. I said, girl, if you don't get some anxiety meds and call it a day. But what we found out is the way that Christine got addicted was she had scoliosis, and she said her addiction happened over a course of like 8 years, but she had scoliosis. The doctor ended up giving her a lot of pain medication, but too much. And then she had struggles with it back and forth. Then, her mom and her dad took her oldest son. And then the father of her 2 twins, he took their kids. And she was like, the only reason why she would stay in Annapolis would be to be with her son, but she hates the town. She hates the town. She hates how the town makes her feel. And she kind of has her reservations for moving to Maryland, where Julian is from, because she's going to be far from her other kids, which the twins live in Ohio with their dad. But she was struggling. Like, I mean, she was in that car breaking down. And she's just like, I want to be in their lives. I want to do better. But like, I just can't at this point. And I feel like if seeing your parents is going to trigger you that bad, maybe you need to start like small, like maybe being consistent with like calling your son every single day. Like, or like y'all set up a time where y'all just talk and you ask him, and then upgrade to like FaceTime calls every month, and then do in person. I think sometimes that's what pushes these people back into like prison or like relapsing, is you trying to do everything all at once, and then you get overwhelmed, and then anxiety and stress causes you to want to run back to something that makes you feel good. Because being anxious and stressed out is not a good feeling. So I'm just like, well, girl, at least you got common sense enough to know that like your mom triggers you. But you also need to go to therapy to figure out how to not allow her presence or the things that she say to trigger you. Because at this point, you an adult, and if you keep saying your mom is the reason why you can't connect with your son, eventually that's not going to be something that that little boy is going to accept. And he might not even accept it now. So find a better way, Christine. Shantae. So before I talk about True and Shantae, check out this one content creator by the name of Geo Malik. Now, I was scrolling on YouTube and I found out that he had a video called Shantae and True Debunk the Rumors. So I didn't watch the full video, but it was basically like what's it called? A TikTok live or an Instagram live where Shantae was answering questions about things, and she was like explaining stuff. And I think True might have been in there too, but I'm not sure. But check out the live. He was giving his commentary as well, so check out his page. I hope I said his name correctly. But True and Shantae. So we finally see the girl pull up that Angelique, True's sister, called. We meet her. Her name's Tasha. She go by Shantae. I'ma call her Tasha. She a thirst bucket. She a bird and a thirst bucket. And I said, girl, you got to be a thirsty somebody to be like throwing yourself at prison penis. Like 13-year-old prison penis. That you are like, we have already been told has sex like he's still a 17-year-old boy, like when he got locked up. And you look like you probably in your late 20s, early 30s. Sad. Girl, it's sad. And mind you, Shantae ain't no better, but at least we ain't seen Shantae like hurl herself at this man. I mean, she lost in the end. Like she went against herself, but still, Tasha just looked thirsty. And you got the shiesty sister in the background of the gym smiling as she sees her friend throwing herself at her prison brother. And I knew the sister was shiesty, and I knew that's why she never came into that house to see Shantae or ask about Shantae for real. It's because she wanted to create distance, because she knew she was going to call her friend to hit up her brother. Because Angelique don't want to feel bad once she knows her brother cheats on Shantae or breaks up with Shantae, because she's gonna be like, I owe her no loyalty. But she messed up. So we see Tasha get there. She hugging all up on True looking at Tasha with the stank face, because Tasha used to talk to True before he really talked to Shantae, and they locked into each other for 2 years. Tasha pretty much was like, well, True, you knew my situation. She had a boyfriend. I guess they were on a break, and she was talking to True. Once they got back together, she ghosted True. So True kind of feels some type of way. He even said, some dudes be getting out, and then they start talking to people that like left them while they was in there. I ain't on that type of time. I'm going to be faithful to Shantae. She held me down for 2 years. Then Tasha over here talking about how, sometimes those relationships don't work out because the person, like, y'all are different. Like, what you was inside prison is different than what you was outside of prison. And maybe this just ain't it for you guys. So she hugging on him, talking about, we could be friends. Like, she gonna stop you from having friends, and True trying real hard to act like he really want to be faithful to Shantae, but you can tell that he like what Tasha is doing. And Tasha came there to throw herself at True because she has on like a tracksuit, but you can tell that it's too small because it's too tight. She talking about like, I could be your umbrella, like when it pours, I might not be there, but when it rains, I'll cover you. I said, and when she's doing it, you can see like her stomach, but also she got the jacket zipped down to like right here in the middle of her bosoms. And she has on like this lace red bra. So every time she leans down, you could see like her titties. And I said, girl, you didn't come there to work out. You came there to see if True was really with it. And he is with it. He trying to act like he not with it. And you wanted to see if you could shoot your shot and have a chance. And you do. You do. He been locked up for 13 years. You do. And True liked the fact that that girl threw herself at him. So next thing you know, we see Shantae. And people made comments about the way Shantae looks in her confessionals. In that video on that YouTuber's page I told y'all, she said in her live that she has lupus. So right around the time that they were doing the confessional, she had a flare up. We also get more information about what happened with her assault. So it seems like Shantae was like a CO, and that's why she never went to the prison or the jail that True was at to see him, because she was just like, I don't ever want to go to a place where there's one person controlling the door. And the reason why I thought that maybe it was a CO and she didn't say it was, she was working at like a detention center or a jail, is because she said the people kind of blamed her for the assault, and they were like, you had a gun, you should have used it. And I was like, I don't know that many jobs where you can use a gun on people and not suffer consequences. So it's given that she was probably working at a correctional facility, and that's where, unfortunately, she got assaulted. So, but if you want to hear her words, check out that YouTuber's video. So True finally gets home. Shantae is in the midst of packing because she's pretty much like, bro, what am I here for? Like, I have not seen him all day. She's like, True is full of it because he basically told me that he wasn't really cool with his family. But now that he out, all of a sudden, him and his family like this. And I was like, girl, a lot of them say that because they want you to feel sorry for them. So True finally gets there. She in the bed, in the bedroom packing, because she's like, I want to see my grandkids. I'm like, grandkids? I said, girl, you're 35 and you got grandkids? She's like, I want to, and maybe she had her kids young, but she's like, I want to go see my grandkids. I want to go see my kids. I'm tired of playing around with you. What are we before I go back? And True's like, give me a minute. Like, let me go change so we can talk. So he pretty much tells her this ain't working for him. That like they too different and this ain't working. She pissed. So she goes and sits in the den and she on the phone scrolling like she irritated. And True's like, well, let me talk to you. And she's like, I don't want to talk to you. And so she gets up from the chair. You can tell she's starting to get emotional. She goes and locks herself into the bathroom and starts crying in the bathroom. And True's like, Shantae, let me talk to you. She was like, there ain't nothing to talk about. So then she, what's it called? She comes out the bathroom. He's like, I feel kind of like you played me, like you used me. And I'm like, the audacity, my guy, the audacity. So while she's in, she goes back to the bedroom. She's like packing her stuff. True pulls out $1,000 in cash and he's like, here you go for the clothes and all of that stuff. She throws the money. I said, girl, you're stupid. I'd have gladly collect that money, rolled it up and put it in my bra. And cause that's the least you can do. She got 2 mortgages because of you. 2 mortgages. You could have definitely given her more money. And she's like, her savings is dwindled down because of you. And he's like, I don't want you to feel like I used you. But then she's packing her car. She doing a confessional. She's getting emotional outside being like, I feel stupid. I feel played. Everybody told me that he was using me and like stop. And she was like, and stop putting him before me. But I kept doing things by putting him before me. And I just feel stupid because like I did it this time and I thought it was going to work out for me and it didn't pay off. And I'm like, girl, you should have known this wasn't going to pay off. But I ain't going to lie, I did feel bad for her because it's like you could tell that she really wanted this to work out and it just didn't. So now she's sitting in the car and he's like, Shantae, you don't feel like you used me? When I tell you I would have like me and True probably would have fought because I would have in the mouth, like used or like just popped him in his forehead. Cause what are you talking about? You don't have anything for me to use. He was like, well, I mean, you use me for my time, for my loving to get you through. Oh, I would have popped him in his throat. And he's like, yeah, I feel like you use me. When I tell you, I'd have yanked my car door away from him. Like, don't touch my car, get away from me. So she gets in the car and she drives off. He goes in the house and calls his sister, basically tell his sister he broke up with her. His sister says F her. And I'm like, wow, you're trash. You're a trash person. And so he talks about how, having Tasha all up on him made him realize, like, he liked it and he don't want to be tied down, which makes sense. Like, you've been locked up for 13 years. But honestly, if you didn't want that, then why did you propose to her? Why did you sell her this dream that like everything was going, like y'all were going to come out and be some type of family? She should have had more common sense enough to know that that wasn't going to happen. But it's just like you also played a hand in this and played a role and played her. So then we actually see her on the phone calling her brother, and like you can hear it in her voice, like she breaking down, like she parked her car like legit, like head on face, like just beating herself like in the head, just like he played me. And like she crying hard, and the episode went off with them. But then, so I thought they were done, but then in the trailer you see like they gonna be on the phone going back and forth, but it looked like she back at home with her kids, so I don't know what they going back and forth for. The last couple is Zuri and Troy. I've been calling her Zahira, but they said her name enough in this episode for me to like cement it in my brain that her name is Zuri. So we see Troy and Karen, which is his mom, pull up to the house. Mind you, that is a small place. I thought that place was a little bit bigger. Is it a duplex? I feel like it's a duplex or maybe a townhome, but I feel like, I don't know, maybe in the South, because the townhomes down here are bigger. But she was going in and out of rooms, and I was like, it seems very cramped in there, like very small. So I think it's a duplex. But they pull up to the house. Karen's like, oh, okay, this is nice. This is cute. And so we see that the sister is there, Zion. So Karen meets her. They hug. She hugs everybody. We find out that the last time Zuri and Karen were together, Karen kicked Zuri out her house. Mind you, Karen give that energy. Karen gives that like she a fun time at the cookout. Like she gonna keep the party going. But like you don't want any like relationship with her because you can't tell what type of time she about to be on. So they're sitting down in the den. They ordered food. And so as they're waiting, I think the topic of conversation of like Buffalo, New York came up because I think that is where Troy and Karen are from. So Karen is like, you don't need to come back to Buffalo. And Troy is like, well, I do because of my daughter. So we find out Troy got like a little girl. I think she might be 7 years old. I think she might be like 7 years old or something like that. And Troy ends up saying that like he had a baby. We found out that he had a baby with maybe like his high school sweetheart or like when he was like in his early 20s or maybe in high school. But he's no longer in relationship with the mother of his kids, but he is appreciative that the mother of his kids, I think her name is like Yanni, kept his daughter safe. Karen is like, she a bitch, but she a great mother. I said, Karen, you can tell that Zuri is uncomfortable every time they mention the baby mama. And I'm like, what are you uncomfortable for? And she also doesn't like the fact that Troy is defending the baby mama. And honestly, he's not defending her because he should have checked his mom for calling her the B word. But he was pretty much saying like, no, she's good because she took care of my daughter. I might not have seen my child, but he took care of my daughter. But then Karen makes it known that like she doesn't understand how the little girl can't be around Zuri because now that's his wife, but she can have a man around his daughter. So it seems like the baby mama is not allowing the daughter to be around Zuri or hasn't like allowed Zuri to meet his daughter. When it's kind of like, well, girl, if he married the lady, you might as well kind of like try to figure out if y'all can co-parent and like be cool together, you know. But Yanni ain't on that type of time. But you see Zuri talking to her sister, and her sister was like, how are you feeling? And she was like, I think it's awkward and weird for them to be having this conversation about the baby mama. But I'm like, you're going to have this conversation because at the end of the day, that is the mother of his child that he still wants a relationship with. And when I tell you that place is small, because they're having this conversation in the kitchen and the den is right here, like they can hear each other talking. And they're whispering. It was just like, girl. So then Troy can tell that Zahira is upset. Zuri is upset. So he's like, all right, can we talk? Like, are you okay? You good? She's like, I'm fine. And she's just scrolling on the phone like, I'm fine. I said, see, that whole like, I'm fine, but you can tell you not fine. That's the quickest way to get me not to ask you if you okay. Because if I ask you once, tell me what's up. I'm not begging to figure out what's wrong with you. So she basically tells him that he got to sleep on the couch. And he's like, for real though? And she's like, yeah, I don't really want to talk to you right now. And all that's playing in her mind is what the psychic and the tarot reader told her, that like their relationship's not gonna last and that the baby mama still got strong feelings for him. And probably so. Probably so. But she kicks him out to go sleep on the couch with his mama. And I'm like, what was the point of kicking the son out? Because I thought maybe the mom was going to sleep in the son's room, but you had a lady sleeping on the couch. Where does the son sleep? How many rooms is in this place? And the rooms are small, like really small, because you got a bathroom here and then you see her coming out the bathroom. It was a lot going on. I said there's too many doors opening and closing. But he, Troy sleeps on the couch. He pretty much was like, it's better than sleeping in a jail cell, so I'm all right. The mom was laid out with her headphones on and her pillow and her like she was asleep. So then Zahira is basically saying that, a lot of people have told me not to make red flags green. I said, you already made a red flag green by marrying somebody that was incarcerated for 7 years. Shut up, Zahira. So, or Zuri, whatever the girl name is. So the mom is telling him, like, be a man, go talk to your wife. I said, girl, he's not the man of the house. Cause she was like, they need to understand you're a man. He don't pay no bills. What are you talking about, ma'am? What are you talking about, Karen? But I did agree with Karen about like telling him to go speak to his mom, to speak to Zahira. So he goes in there to speak to her. She immediately apologizes because she was like, she knows her actions were childish and wrong. And he's like, yeah, like, what was up with you? And she was just like, your mom stresses me out and constantly hearing about your baby mama is a lot. And I'm like, what do you want him to talk trash about the lady? He didn't, I was like, what? It's not like he was like, oh, I'm still in love with her. He was just like, I appreciate the things that she's done for me. I was like, you that insecure about his baby mama. You need therapy. This whole situation needs therapy. Okay. A lot of therapy. So then we find out that they getting ready to go to church. So Miss Karen ain't got no panties. She telling everybody she ain't got no panties. She talking about she need her coochie spray. So I say, you got coochie spray, but you ain't got no panties. Okay, Miss Karen. So she's like, Troy's like, the Bible said, come as you are. So they getting in the car. Zahira is saying how like Troy told her he only been to like 3 different services. He's never really been to church like that. And then the mama in the back saying, one time he thought he was going to church while he was walking down the aisle. But you know what? He was actually in his father's wedding and his father was getting married. But mind you, his father was still messing with me. And that's how he got his brother Vaughn. I said, Miss Karen, we don't need to know about you out here. We don't need to know you was out here having a hot girl summer, that you was a city girl. We just don't need to know about this, Miss Karen. So while they're on the way there, but before they got to church, we found out that Miss Karen popped 2 edible gummies. So she about to be lifted. She then tells us that she do 4 gummies a day. I said, Miss Karen, what you going through? So they pull up to the church. Ain't nobody in church. For them to be talking about how great this church is, it's clearly don't nobody want to be there because most of the congregation is in the choir. They only had like 3 rows full. I said, maybe y'all didn't tell people that y'all was going to be on TV, but this does not make me want to go to your church, sir. There was nobody in that church. It was like 3 rows full. It was empty in there. So Miss Karen's edible gummies are kicking in. They kicking in. You got the son happy to see Troy. It's they sitting on the front row. I'm like, why do y'all need to sit on the front row? Miss Karen is talking about, oh, he got a little hood in him, the daddy, as he's preaching and giggling. You got Zahira's mom or Zuri's mom talking about like, we're happy that Troy is here. We're hoping that he's gonna become a priest or a pastor and prophesy. Stop forcing people to do those types of things. Like if he's told you more than once that he is not interested in that, stop trying to force that onto him. Why would you want somebody who doesn't feel led by God to speak the word of God to people? Them people would have got on my nerves. So Karen, next thing you know, like I said, the edible gummy popping in starts crying and breaking down. And then you got Zuri telling her son, go get Grandma Karen some tissue. And she's telling Troy, your mama's tripping. Like she tweaking right now. I was like, I would have said by Miss Karen because I would have been laughing. I would have been laughing. But that's how the episode ends. That is all. As always, remember to be bravely authentic and definitely hop down in them comments below and tell me your thoughts thus far about Love After Lockup. And is it hitting on something for you, or are you just kind of like, yeah, and waiting until we get to, I think, Love After Lockup? Because I want to see old girl fight that dude's mama. the one that had the surveillance cameras all up and through their house. If you see the trailer for that, they was fighting on the rooftop. I said, girl, Teeny, that's her name, Teeny. I said, Teeny, not you fighting the mama. I need to see why. Okay, I need to see why. But I'm out, y'all. Deuces.